One of our featured bouts coming up here at the UFC Fight Pass Invitational number 5 is a rematch between Daniel Manasoiu and my next guest. It is Victor Hugo. Victor, kind enough to join me here on Extra Rounds as we get ready for the FPI. Familiar foe in Daniel Manasoiu. You hold the win over him in your previous meeting. Have you only faced him one time? Has it been more than once?
No, we only faced one time, even though he's staying busy. We haven't faced again, but I think, both of us have improved a lot this last time. But yes, just one time for now.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on him and sort of where was he at and you think his progression when you met the first time on the mat?
I think he even then, I think the way that he got to the EDCC was by winning trials. So he had merit. Like he was there because he won his way onto the main event. But I think now he's in a better moment. He's in a crescent right now. He beat a couple, black belts. He's beating a lot of people on the other tournaments. And I think he actually has more experience than I have on the UFC Fight Pass. I saw that he has been competing at the event before, so he's on a crescent, and it's just great, because even though I have more experience, he has a really good momentum on his side. So I think it's a perfect matchup. He's a guy that is bigger than me. Any tournament I go, anywhere I go, I'm usually the biggest guy on the card, and all this time. So exciting for me, to be displaying my skills against someone bigger. Because one thing that I hate is whenever I win a match and I do a super cool move, and they're like, "Oh, that guy is just too big." Well,
Right.
how are you going to stop? Now I have opportunity to face someone bigger, so I think it's going to be a good display for me to show my technique.
Yeah, you mentioned his experience on this Fight Pass Invitational stage. I mean, obviously experience does play a factor in combat sports, but do you feel like his experience in this one show more than fighting on the stage, does that actually play to his advantage in any way?
I would say a little bit. Maybe he's going to be a little more comfortable because he's been there already on the mats and all that. And I think more than once. But I have been competing at the highest level, for probably like 4 years now. I compete at the biggest stage. I've competed at really small tournaments too. So even though I said experience, I think it's more like comfortable. He's going to be comfortable fighting UFC Fight Pass. I believe he hasn't fought anyone on my caliber this year yet. I could be wrong, but counting the opens and all that, I don't think he has faced anyone like that impose a challenge like I impose. So even though he has experience in the event, I think is limited. He'll probably be more comfortable on that environment, but that's what I've trained for. I train to be prepared at all times, anywhere, and I think that's what I'm going to be there to show.
You've competed under the brightest lights that, BJJ has to offer. Obviously, the UFC, it's a bigger name in the mixed martial arts world. It's becoming a big name in the submission grappling world. Do you feel like, I mean, if you were fighting the octagon, I'm sure you would have some UFC jitters, but is there any jitters to be had fighting in the UFC Apex and fighting on this platform?
Oh yeah, it's super special for me. I've been following UFC for years. Even before I get into jiu-jitsu, I already knew what UFC was, and I was already watching fights. So being part of this event, starting to work with the UFC now is amazing. And I think one of the ways that I can strengthen, the relationship is by showing entertaining matches and winning. So that's what I look for on December 10th. As I said, it's kind of like a dream of mine being part of the organization. And man, what a great chance! And I'd say a really good matchup because a lot of people ask for it. Is a matchup that is interesting. Two big dudes that have a very odd style for big dudes. We're flexible, we're fast, we go for submissions. So I think it's a really cool matchup, and I look forward to stamp my brand onto the UFC Fight Pass.
It's good to hear that because I think, Victor, when you look at what the UFC can do for the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu world, is I think that they can make casual mixed martial arts fans into maybe casual Brazilian Jiu Jitsu fans, or, even, if they can, make them hardcore Brazilian Jiu Jitsu fans. Take hardcore MMA fans and get them as rabid about no gi grappling. And the key to doing that, in my opinion, is kind of what you said, putting on entertaining matchups. You're a big guy. Dan's a big guy. If you go out there and throw down like lightweights and move and have diverse sort of approaches and are able to just entertain people, that's how you get these fans to go. You know what? I just thought I was a fight fan. Now I'm a grappling fan.
Yeah, I think that's what we can do, to show how grateful you are to be, in part of this generation. That being able to work in an organization like the UFC, and as you said, it's bringing a lot of eyes. I have a lot of people know that I'm competing for you guys for the UFC Fight Pass. in 2 weeks, and they all know what it means. Like I don't have to explain twice. I just said I'm doing a grappling match for the UFC. Oh, they're all great. Where is it going to be streamed? I said UFC Fight Pass. All right, they're like, oh, awesome, I have that. So it's just so easy for people to follow. There's no much like a very how would say a very specific thing. So it's easy. I think it's the closest I have ever been to a mainstream event. So I think one of the ways that we can show how grateful you are, and one of the things I can do to help jiu-jitsu being keep growing is by putting on a show. And as you said, I think it's a great matchup. I've been training for this match for the last 3 months, studying them, visualizing myself on this event, and man, I can't wait.
Well, all the hard work is going to pay off as you get to make that walk inside the UFC Apex coming up on December 10th. Victor Hugo,
Yeah.
he takes on Big Dan, Daniel Manasoiu. Victor, appreciate the time. Best of luck here at the FPI 5. And myself and like a lot of people all around the world can be watching live on UFC Fight Pass.
Yeah, save the name, Victor Hugo, Big Man Flow. Let's go.
Awesome, Victor. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
All right, bro.